All right, you should have the ability to include audio now.
Yes, there we are.
All right, my audio is included. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, St. Leo 13, and today we are getting underway at Suzuka, one of the greatest tracks in all of East Asia here in the great island nation of Japan, as we are preparing to wind down the final little bit of the championship fights here for XRLX3. 14 drivers will be taking to the track today, but in the end, only one will be standing on top of the podium. Here in the broadcast booth with me today is XRL Shikari. Shikari, it's a pleasure to have you with us once more. What are your expectations going into today's race?
I feel like today is going to be quite a tricky race. Regarding turn one, I think that there's going to be some stuff happening very quickly. I also think qualifying is going to be very close, like it has been throughout the season.
Yeah, last week we had a very interesting one in qualifying and the race. We had three drivers, only one of them we were used to really seeing up front, but all of a sudden one of the Alfa Romeos properly had pace to bring him into a top three fight all day long. We also saw Schumacher was up there as well, along with Paige and Dr. Phil, one of the newcomers. So a very interesting three-way fight at Singapore. However, difference is Singapore is a really, really tight, hard to overtake at street circuit. Suzuka is a really tight, hard to overtake at proper road course. Suzuka is a lot more aerodynamically focused just due to the nature of the corners. Once you get out of turn 1, from about turn 2 all the way to turn 7, it's just a series of long drawn out S's that you need a decent amount of downforce on. Of all the tracks that have been on the schedule, I think no track puts the Mercedes-powered McLaren at a bigger disadvantage than this one here. We've seen all the way back since Baku, their biggest strength has been lower wing setups, and they've gotten great straight line pace. That's going to be great here. But there's just going to be one problem. Yes, that will give them great ability on the DRS straight, and will give them great ability on the alternate start-finish straight. But other than that, there's not a whole lot else they can utilize that on. Most of the rest of the track is really, really tight corners, and even when you lay on the throttle on the run down to corners like Spoon, you're still in a position where you're still hankering on the wheel. I think today we could see the McLarens be in for a world of hurt. That, in addition to the fact that there's only one McLaren apparently, only Herbago 91, could put us in a very, very interesting scenario where the McLarens, who are already on the back foot in the Manufacturers' Championship, might end up being even more on the back foot today as the event goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Seen V8 Irons retire. He's got a qualifying ban to serve, I believe. I was surprised at how quick he retired, actually, so he has put a setup on, but that was very, very fast for a retirement. Golminator is the first out on track. We've got 15 drivers. Potentially 16, 17, sorry.
Oh, we have 17 drivers potentially. Okay, well, right now it's saying that we only have 14, so it gives us number 1 through 15, but there's no number 2, so yeah.
Oh, sorry, 16 then, 16. So we've got 14 currently. There's Mantic potentially joining, and also Frada's joining.
Okay, well, it would be nice if both of them joined. Then we'd have something a little bit closer to a interesting fight. But as it stands right now, 13 drivers will be taking to the track. Q1, top 15 automatically advanced. So for everyone right now, it's just a matter of go out there, set a lap, and then come in and pit.
Yeah, and the weather report is a dry race and dry quali with 14% chance in both quali and the race. So it's going to be dry, more than likely. Radders and Mantic are coming, by the way. Both drivers that have retired do have quali bans. So they will not... Well, they'll be getting through to Q2 if it stays like this. Or one of them definitely will. Do you think we'll see any overtakes at 130R?
So, one of the interesting things, at least in my opinion, when it comes to this circuit, is just the way that it lays out its nature. I've been following Golminator for the last few laps, but as I look around, we have Eggity out on track, Dragonborn's out on track, Herbago's out on track. It's just, oh, and that's an SMR, that's AK Herbie! And Herbie has had an incident there in the S's!
Herbie's got a quali ban, I believe.
Oh, who is it that went off there? Was that Mercedes AMG? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
That I got way too excited over the wrong thing. But a Aston Martin goes around there in the S's, and there may be significant front wing damage for Mercedes. No, actually, his front wing's still together. That is one small advantage that a track like this here at Suzuka has over a circuit like Singapore. Singapore being a street circuit, all the walls are right there. You can't really afford to make a mistake or you'll take damage. There's a lot of runoff here at Suzuka, though.
Yeah, there is a lot of runoff here. I'm watching Rubago currently do his lap around Spoon. I know on stream you're watching the weird things happening.
I'm just kind of, we're just kind of bouncing around trying to keep up pace with just about everything here.
Yeah.
But yeah, first driver to come to the line is going to be Galminator. He'll set the time. Everyone's going to go for 140.529.
Nice.
Again,
not too bad.
There's only one DRS straightaway here on the circuit. There's really not a whole lot of opportunities for overtaking, even if you do have DRS, because that DRS is 100% hinged on how well can you navigate your way through the final chicane. Dragonborn sets the time in the 31s. Herbago sets the time in the 30s.
Next across the line will be Mercedes. He won't be beating that. And then it's E. Diggity, who won't be beating that. But he is on medium tyres.
And also, you don't really have to go crazy pounding a lap out, because right now all 13 drivers here are guaranteed to advance to the next round of qualifying. Just set a time. It could be a 3-minute lap time. Just set a time, you'll be good, you'll be able to advance.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Yet, anyway.
Vitek Jalebin now comes out of the pit lane, and he's going to prepare to get a lap in.
It's been a minute. Not seen Jeff race for a while. Sorry, Jaleb race for a while.
We're going to go ahead and run board silently for a lap on board with paging Dr. Phil. See what a lap is like on board with him here at Suzuka.
Cool.
And in the end, Dr. Phil sets a 132.098. And now the question is going to be, will he have enough fuel to make it all the way around the circuit? This is a gigantic track, one of the longest and largest on the schedule. And there's really not a whole lot of areas on the circuit that you can just kind of let off the throttle and coast. These cars are extremely downforce sensitive. This track is very downforce focused. You kind of have to push out a second lap as well, a second cooldown lap as well. Because even if, you're just kind of cruising at 50 miles an hour or something, there are going to be other drivers who will come up on you at much higher pace on a track where there's really not a whole lot of space to cleanly overtake at. That was Schumacher SF7 who just went by Dr. Phil.
Yeah, he's on the hards. He's on the hard tyre, so not really pushing. Jaleb sets the purple sector 2. Not really. I mean, he doesn't need to push, but I guess he is because he's on the soft.
I did get a chance briefly to talk with Schumacher before this race, yesterday and today. Yesterday, he was afraid he may not even be able to make it due to significant internet issues. He's got that fixed. Today, apparently he's dealing with another bug.
Jaleb goes third.
And now Mantic Meerkat has joined the lobby, so he has about a little bit more 9.5 minutes to actually get into the session and properly get a time in.
Yeah.
Herbago and Galminator are both retired after setting their times. Again, they're pretty much guaranteed to advance to the next round of qualifying. There's no way they're going to get squeezed out at this point.
Yeah, there's no real threat there for them. Galminator potentially. MSC goes 6th with a 33.8 on hard tires. Imperium's on an outlap.
He's not the only one. XRL Zola, the man who came home second and took home second in the Drivers' Championship fight last week, is now out on track on the Red Bull on an outlap as well. Zola is starting to resurge just a bit over the last few weeks, but the problem is he's not resurging against the championship leader. He's more surging back against the McLaren drivers of Herbago and Mantic Meerkat. He started to actually put together some proper runs. That, coupled with his teammate of paging Dr. Phil, is kind of a case of too little too late. The Red Bulls are making great gains in the Manufacturers' Championship, but there aren't enough races for them to close a more than 100-point gap, I imagine, especially because there always seems to be at least one, if not both, of the McLarens and Ferraris finishing in the top 10. In addition to that, Zola's put together some great fights. He's now back into second in drivers' points, but the gap in drivers' championship points from top to bottom is 70 plus. It's almost 3 races worth of points. So mathematically, he's still in it, but man, if he's going to make a run for the title now, he is waiting until the last possible minute to do so as he begins his flying lap. Imperium there in the Williams. He had a respectable run last week at the streets of Singapore.
He did, yeah, he did all right.
I'm a little bit curious to see how he's going to pull off here. And see, Schumacher has actually gone ahead and set a second lap on the hard, so Schumacher might be using this qualifying session as a glorified test to see how far he can push the hards.
Yeah, I think he's doing a little bit of practice just to get prepared.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, unless I'm wrong, you only get one set of hard tires over the entire weekend, so that might not be a good thing. He's putting a lot of excess wear on that hard tire if you want to go a medium to hard compound strategy. But that comes to the other thing about Suzuka. Yellow flags and strategy are massive here. Throughout the majority of this season, the meta has been go medium hard or hard medium. That's just kind of been the way it has gone, especially now that you're not required to start on the same set of tires you ran in a prior qualifying session. But here at Suzuka, that's not necessarily going to work that easily. Because it's so hard to overtake here, yellow flags could follow a 2 or 3 stop strategy where you make extra stops earlier in the event and then get ahead on the basis of yellow flags. That could end up being what brings everything home. A soft medium call or soft medium soft call might end up being better than medium to hard if there are enough yellow flags.
Hey, you never know, do you? And that's the prediction for this week on the stream. How many virtual safety cars and safety cars will there be in the race? Got 4 on or 3 or less, so get voting on that. Mantic's on a lap. See what he couldn't do. Well, he's just coming to a bit of a twitch there, actually, from him.
Yeah, Fratters has properly joined the session as well now, and Schumacher's still out on the hard tire, so he's going for another lap. So I really think Schumacher is just using this as a practice session for race pace.
Yeah, I think he is.
Also, Mantic, he's here, like you said. Fratters has joined, so yes, we have 16 drivers who will be partaking in today's race. Again, everyone here is guaranteed a spot in Q2 simply because AK Herbie and VA Irons are both serving qualifying bans.
As long as Flavor sets a lap. It will be VA, as long as everyone sets a lap time, it'll be VA Irons that we say goodbye to. AKA Herbie will have to retire in the next qualifying session.
Yeah, it's one of those weird hiccups when it comes to the way that they set up the lobbies for qualifying in these games.
And then I've also put a poll up on Twitch. Will Fradders DNF during the race?
That's a bit mean-spirited, but okay.
It's funny, isn't it? It's Fradders. It's funny.
Well, you know, just for that, I'm not going to vote on the poll. because I don't have a whole lot of faith myself, but I will cheer on for Frater specifically just to spite anyone who votes for him not making it to the end. So,
Yeah, MSC picked the harder compound, so now he's got 2 sets of hards and 2 sets of mediums. So
he will get a second set of hards.
Yeah, he's got one for the race.
All right, it may not be the worst thing ever then for him. He's coming around. We're looking at, he's finally coming down the pit lane, but he went and clocked out, was basically 3 laps, nearly 4 laps on pace, and there's been an incident. That's the McLaren of Mantic Meerkat, who's gone off there in that second tight right-hand corner at the start of Sector 2. Flavor, Schumacher's teammate, is on an outlap now, as is Dave. Alfa Romeo's had a great run last week, was a little bit sidetracked, and they didn't finish exactly where they felt that they should have due to the way that penalties came out. Here's another thing last week. I do want to talk about this because this impressed me, and we're really lucky it didn't happen. Fuel numbers. I have never before seen a race in X3 where fuel was a concern in the closing laps. We were looking at a scenario where we were going to have 3 of our top 5 drivers, including the men who had dominated most of the race, run out of fuel anywhere from a lap before the end to a 10th of the lap before the end. And the gaps throughout the rest of the field were so massive that we could have honestly seen 2, if not 3 or 4 lead changes on the final lap due to people running out of fuel.
And that means that this week the drivers will have to be wary of how much fuel they're putting in the car, just in case we get a similar situation. We don't want to be seeing that. We want every driver to finish the race. If they want to under fuel, then they are relying on safety cars, which may or may not happen. You just never know what's going to happen in the race. Every race is different.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I just want to say to X3, the fields have been significantly smaller this season than what we saw last season, but, and this is going to probably come off as controversial, I think it's been slightly for the better. A lot of the drivers who have moved up and advanced to the higher tier in X2 are drivers that kind of got into fights a little bit more. A lot of people also just quit. They didn't want to run the game at all. This game very unpopular with the user base within XRL. I think because that we have fewer drivers, and the drivers who are here, they're really properly committed. That means that a lot of them are kind of, finding their skills, honing their skills. We don't see as many mistakes in as many instances. Earlier this season, when we were running at the Red Bull Ring, we saw our first caution-free race ever in X3. Singapore, we didn't go caution-free, but we came extremely close to it. We had all of our starters still running until only about like 4 or 5 laps to the end of that race. It's been really incredible how much X3 has turned around. But yes, like you said, that turns around how the strategy comes out, though, because fewer yellow flags, that means everyone, that also has a knock-on effect as to why the new meta is medium to hard or hard to medium single-stop races. There's not really as much of a likelihood that you're going to get a yellow flag, let alone the yellow flag that'll give you an automatic free stop to get extra tires swapped.
That's it. That's what happens when you get a safety car. XRL Flavor coming around the final corner to set his lap. This will push V8 Irons in 16th. He sets a 34.1. Good enough for 11th and through to Q2.
And Dave will also set his time down, 133.876. So he is in also. It's just a matter of waiting on Fratters. This isn't looking great for Fratters because, so he's going to have to hope that the game does its normal little glitch and does allow him to advance by default into Q2 so he can get some times in.
Yeah, it will do. It'll be through. Whether it glitches during the race or not is another issue.
Yeah.
We'll get through to Q2 at least.
But in the end, I do want to bring attention to the Christmas tree there. The top 5 drivers all set their times on softs, all of them in the 31s. 6th place all set his times on the mediums. He's in the 32s. 7th, Schumacher set his fastest time on the hards. And I wonder if maybe he may have overfueled the car as well to emulate the race conditions. He still set a time in the 32s. So
not by many laps,
Schumacher, Zola, Schumacher, Eggity, Dave, and Flavor, I imagine all of them we will see putting down faster lap times in Q2, and we'll see the field kind of close altogether a bit when it comes to times. But right now, it looks like we may be seeing another McLaren Masterclass, possibly. Herbago's at the front. However, right now, Herbago's on top, Dragonborn is second. last time we saw that, my friend, was at the first race that Dragonborn ran.
Yes,
That was
it
at
was.
Zandvoort. And that
And Flavors
only
improved this
lasted
time.
for a few laps. Oh, wow, yes, he did. 32.696, so he had overfueled the car and actually burned through the very last of his ERS coming out to the front straightaway that time. So yeah, Herbago needs to make sure he doesn't let Dragonborn get into his head like what happened at Zandvoort.
Yeah.
Zandvoort, a little bit similar to that. You can't really overtake there outside of the front straightaway. I mean, you can't if the person ahead makes a mistake, but Herbago kind of let Dragonborn get into his head and crashed out. That's one of the reasons why Herbago is nearly 3 race worth of points out behind Schumacher at this stage in the season.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll find out a lot more during Q2 as to what the driver's real pace is. Because obviously there was nothing really to play for here. It was just get a lap in. Next time out in Q2, it's going to be a little bit different.
Still, a 130 at the top of the sheets for Herbago is incredible. As you look at the final times there, I remember when around this circuit, times in the 145s were still considered very good and respectable back in the 2000s. 130s. It just goes to show that, yes, Formula One cars, at least in my opinion, have gotten significantly worse, but they're still up there and still incredibly fast just off the base of, slick tires, way more downforce than ever seen before, and they typically run a much, much lower fuel load as well throughout qualifying. Improvement in technology when it comes to tires and aerodynamics. Now we have a little bit of underbody downforce as well. Just, it really is going to be impressive to see what they can try and pull off here.
Yeah. Going to be good. It's going to be good.
One of the things I think that really hallmarks the evolution of Formula One cars from being some of the top pieces of machinery on Earth to a different kind of the top piece of machinery on Earth, where it used to be really nice and balanced, and now it's almost all aerodynamics focused. The one down to 130R, so down the alternate pit straightaway, there is, it's a nice straight section. No DRS for Formula One on that straightaway, interestingly enough, which kind of surprises me, but okay. And then at the very end of it, you have about a 120-degree turn off to the left-hand side. There's a small amount of banking, but not really enough for the car to plant itself on. If you go back and you look at footage from the 80s, the very end of the 80s, the 90s, all the way until the 2000s, it was a little bit difficult to keep your car down through there, because even if you had enough downforce on the nose of the car to keep the thing stable and enough downforce on the rear of the car to keep the car stable, you need to have a good balance on the car when you threw it through that corner. Now, that's really not the case anymore. You have enough downforce. It's just another full-speed, high-sin corner.
Yeah, and here's Dragonborn on his outlap. Be the first driver to set a time when he gets round the track. Quite a few drivers going out.
Dr. Phil apparently is out on the medium tires, so that's an interesting development there.
Yeah, and Herbie with his quali band is serving it now.
So 14 drivers will be fighting for 10 positions overall here. Mantic Meerkat is backed up behind the Haas of BTEC Geleben. Dragonborn has had some respectable, not amazing, but respectable fights this season. But these two here, not these two, but Meerkat has probably seen the back end of a Haas so long he's angry about it. That was the main thing that kept him from fighting for a top 5 position last week at Singapore. Now he's caught up behind another Haas. Meerkat needs to really keep his head on straight, but I'm really glad to see BTEC Geleben back into the car. It's been a few weeks. Him and I, we've not had the greatest interactions with each other in the past, but he has shown himself to be a respectable and committed driver on the track. It's always great to see him back, and him coupled with Dragonborn on the circuit, we could see Haas walk out here with a great haul of points. It's just kind of a shame because the way that the season has played out, first, second, and third in the Manufacturers' Championship has already pretty much been decided. There's a bit of a fight at the top, obviously, but for most of the teams, the best they can honestly go for, I think, is fourth.
Yeah, I mean, let's just have a look, see what is happening in the table. Yeah, so Haas currently in 5th. probably just fighting fourth now, to be honest. Even Red Bull would be struggling, I think, no offense to them, to get into the top 2 positions. They've probably got third in the bag now. Alfa Romeo, Haas, they're all similarly points. So yeah, fourth place is I think what they'd be expected to fight for the rest of the season. Dragonborn then going round Spoon, a little twitch round Spoon actually.
And that is the Ferrari of Flavor, who is slow and letting some of the other drivers pass on their flyer laps.
Yeah.
Frater still has not yet made an attempt to come out of pit lane. I'd be just a little bit concerned if I was in that team right now.
Yeah. Dragonborn, not the best lap actually from Dragonborn. He's going across the line with a 31.3. I expect drivers to be beating that.
Yeah, the first driver I think will probably beat that will be Golminator. Golminator really needs to be able to start putting some proper race finishes together. It helped a little bit that, you know, he had a decent run at Singapore, but 32. Golminator has been putting together incredible runs in qualifying, but then his race performance has been really, really all over the place. I think most notably at Spa, where it seemed like he was fighting with everyone there. Dr. Phil, second fastest, but look at that. Second fastest with medium tires. I think Dr. Phil's going to try and steal another pole.
I think he could. We've got Rubago coming up to the final chicane before the final corner, obviously. Dr. Phil on mediums in second place, the only other driver so far to get into the 31s. And Rubago sets the 30.3, just breezing everyone aside, pushing everyone to one side. Here we go, have that. E-Diggity onto that chicane. What will he say? And Golminator!
Oh, Golminator! Disqualified from parking in a dangerous location. He has spun out coming out of the S's, and the game is going to disqualify him for that.
And now Golminator will be 15th. So only 3 drivers will be out of qualifying. Dave with a 32.4. And what have we just witnessed?
Some bull crap is what I'll say we just witnessed. Sadly, because Golminator's on PC, we don't have a way to invite him into the party. This will make circumstances a lot easier for several other drivers, though.
Yeah, only 3 drivers. Oh, Flavor getting on the grass a little bit too much and
invalidated his lap. Ugh. Now, he has enough time. He can start backing out of it and recharge a small amount of his ERS. I'd be more worried about how much fuel does he still have in the car.
Not that much, unfortunately. MSC comes out of the pits. Start his lap. Oh, his out lap, sorry.
So also, while we kind of missed it over the hiccup over Golminator, but Eggity has set a 134.223. So right now, he is way off pace compared to the next slowest driver on the track right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's on a lap here.
Oh, he's up by a second and a half. So whatever happened in the first lap, he's already overcome it. This will put him,
I believe.
Yeah, either that or the low 32. So he should be ahead of Mercedes. I mean, you could say 31s. He might do it. We'll see really shortly
32s. 32.3.
Right.
6th place above
that's
Dave.
Still good enough for 6th. Flavor low on fuel as he enters Sector 2. Now on the run down to the hairpin. Don't want to pull a Daniel Kvyat and let the rear end get away from you there. Smash the outside wall and go a little topsy-turvy there. I still can't believe we had a rollover in, I believe it was 2015, in a Formula 1 car on the run on to one of the slowest and tightest corners in the entire series. It's crazy how physics works sometimes.
Oh, it is. Very strange.
So Flavor's in the middle of the lap, and Zola is a bit behind him, coming out of Spoon and now coming on to the alternate start-finish line straight. Both of them are going to try and get their laps in. They will be the 9th and 10th drivers to set times in the session. Mercedes-AMG has come back onto the circuit because he wants to improve his time. He knows that he is at risk as it stands right now.
Yeah, definitely needs to improve. I think he needs to be in the mid-31s really to be doing anything, to have a chance of getting through.
My goodness, Zola, so close, so aggressive, cutting curbs, but
yeah.
he's got a
There we
second
are.
best time thus far, 31.237. The frustrating thing is Zola put down an incredible lap. Herbago is still 9/10 faster right now. It looks like we're going back to where it was in the midpoint of the season, where absolutely nothing could touch Herbago.
Yeah, he's found his form late in the season after a couple of races where he's not had the best of luck.
Not had
But
the best of
currently-
luck at all.
But currently a 30.3 and he's retired. He's probably through, to be fair. More than likely through.
And
MSC's
the
on the lap
circumstances,
currently. Sorry.
yeah, the circumstances for Herbago have been really, really frustrating. He's been, without a doubt, one of the dominant drivers throughout a good chunk of the season. Won in the second race of the season from the pole position. Schumacher was right by him. Schumacher was serving a qualifying ban, and he was right behind him, literally nose under his rear wing coming to the start-finish line. Just ran out of time to overtake him. But that was kind of the closest on-track fight we had saw between the two of them for a long time. Herbago lost the finish at Baku to his teammate Meerkat, but still came home with a top 4 finish. He won Montreal. As the season went on, he beat off everyone so handily when he got to the Red Bull Ring. It didn't really start seeing a weakness from him until we got to Spa-Francorchamps. Well, a bit of Silverstone. Silverstone wasn't quite up to pace. But at Spa-Francorchamps, he dominated the event, but apparently he was overfueled by about 4 laps, and he had such a low wing setup, and his tires were so cooked that he went side by side with Schumacher into the corner at the end of the back straightaway and lost control. He recovered all the way up into a 3rd place finish, but that was kind of the turning point. After that, he has not finished a single race in the season since. Crashed out at Zandvoort, crashed out at Monza, crashed out of the top 10 at Singapore. He was still running until about 6 laps to go, and then he crashed out there. For Herbago, just finishing a race would be great, but we know he can do better than that. He needs to go ahead and dominate and win to really restore his confidence.
And we've seen that, and we've seen how close these two can be. The only two drivers in the 30s, because MSC on medium tyres set a 1 minute 30.8. So he's still got a few tenths to gain when he goes onto the soft tyres. What's Herbago going to think, I wonder? And in fact, who's that spun? Is that... Oh, that's Mantic that spun. Lovely.
Same place that Goldner spun at, and Frater's a little bit lucky because Frater's has finally come out to the track. He was on his out lap at that moment.
Yeah, apparently he was on the toilet.
So at this stage in the event, XRL Flavor is on the bubble with Mercedes AMG on the outside looking in. Imperium and Fratters could be the wild cards. Mercedes has already responded. He's out on track right now, trying to pound out another lap. I don't know how good this is going to be of a lap, though, for Mercedes, because I'm looking at his ERS.
Yeah,
19%.
his previous lap. Lap.
Oh, wow, big slide!
Oh!
Ooh.
So
Big
Mercedes' previous
Mercedes.
lap was a little bit quicker. So he'll have to go into the pits and change his tyres or save up his ERS.
Well,
He'll have
you
to
look
save
at
up
the
his
time
ERS,
sheets
actually.
there. Yeah, look at the time there. If you look at taking about 1.5 minutes to complete a lap, and really it's going to be closer to about 1:40 minutes on average when you consider the in and out laps, there's just not enough time for Mercedes.
Yeah, Dr. Phil's out on softs now, currently in 5th place out on softs to set a quicker lap.
Oh, Meerkat's had an accident, and his front wing's destroyed.
Oh, dear.
He'll make it back into the pits, but Meerkat pushing too hard. It's only Q2. I think I have to agree with you. I think if you're in the 131s, you're safe, and I'm going to go ahead and say I think Meerkat's safe as well. I don't think there's enough drivers who will be able to run out in these last minutes to try and put together some blistering final run at this.
E-Diggity is out of the pits.
Bad
doing
news
his
for
out lap.
Fratters, invalidated
Dave
right
is
at the
coming
start
out.
of his lap.
Dave's coming out of the pits as well. Mercedes goes into the pits. I think he'll have enough time, you know. Fratters had invalidated his lap.
And Imperium is still in pit lane, and they have not brought that Williams out on track yet.
So Dr. Phil then is on a lap. Coming up to the final chicane. And he will...
It says he's up by
Cross the
half a
line.
second at the end of Sector 2.
Yeah, 31.2. Good enough for 4th. That'll see him through, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Could still be close,
I
though.
agree with... Now, I agree with you. Full on 131s, you're guaranteed a spot in Q3, as long as nothing happens like you crash out in the cooldown lap or something.
Yeah,
Fratters. I'm so concerned about him. He will have 3/4 of his ERS still available, but
plenty.
he cannot afford another mistake like this. And Imperium needs to get a lap in as well. Zola retires in the pits. He knows that he's safe and going through. All right, now we see Fratters beginning, so Fratters could really upset this Dave, Flavor, Mercedes trio that's formed from 9th to 11th.
Dave about to start his lap.
And Meerkat's come back on circuit for another outlap, actually.
Mercedes and Flavor both coming out of the pits at the same time.
Oh,
Fratters.
and Fratters!
Not invalidated, it's still good, it's still good.
Yeah, but the problem is he's going to invalidate there.
And that's invalidated.
And that means he'll have to rush around the track as quickly as he can to get another shot at it, but it looks to me like there's
Dave
not enough downforce on the car.
Still
that's right in front of Mercedes. That was right in front of Mercedes, who's on an outlap.
Yeah, he's on an outlap, so it's all right.
And look, right behind Mercedes, that's Flavor. Flavor is also on an outlap, and all these drivers, they're all might be held up by Dave because they need to get to the start-finish line as quickly as possible to get a lap in here.
Yeah,
Imperium will be getting his lap now. So Imperium will get one shot at this. And good news for Imperium, bad news for everyone else. He's got clean track. I think Imperium might have what it takes to knock Flavor and maybe even Dave out of the top 10.
But Dave will have time for another lap. He's got the fuel for it. He's got full ERS, so he just needs to go again, really. Diggity coming to the start-finish line to set his time. And it's a 31.5, puts him into 6th place.
Incredible time by the AlphaTauri driver. The fight is between Dave, Flavor, Mercedes, Imperium, and Fratters. Imperium is the farthest up the road. He'll set his time first, and then we'll see. Oh, no! Imperium spins! And that's probably going to kill him. I don't think Imperium's going to be able to advance now because of that.
That'll be an out of quality. Starting in, the lowest he can start is 13th, if Fratters sets a time. Imperium would be setting a time anyway. This is pretty clean, actually, from Fratters.
Yeah, the thing is, though, Fratters is going to come up on Diggity, who's on a cooldown lap real shortly here.
Mercedes
wow! Into the wall. Somehow the car is still alive, but he has lost his front wing. So it's going to be Flavor versus Fratters. Will Fratters knock Flavor out of the top 10?
Don't forget about Imperium either. He's about to... Oh, well, he had that accident.
Yeah, but Imperium has a spin. There's also an outside chance that Dave gets knocked out if both Flavor and Fratters put together good enough laps here.
Yeah, you never know.
Time's up in the session.
Horse, you know. You just never know with Fratters what he can do. As he approaches 130R.
Fratters is almost out of ERS. This is not going to be the greatest news for him. Runs really wide, 130. Or he invalidates! He invalidates! So Flavor is in! Flavor is guaranteed a spot in the final 10 shootout. Oh, wow. Not only that, look at Flavor up by over a second.
Wow.
He's going to possibly put himself into the 31s if he keeps it together.
Yeah, he's in the final part of the track. It's going to be in the 31s. It's going to be a 31.4, good enough for 6th place.
Wow! And for the first time in a while, we see the number 2 driver at Ferrari beat the number 2 driver at McLaren in times. Granted, it's only Q2, it doesn't matter that much, but if I'm Meerkat, I'm going to be shaking in my boots a bit because you look at the host of drivers ahead of you, they're all respectable upper midfielder drivers, if not front runners. Dragonborn's ahead of you again, Diggity's ahead of you, Flavor's ahead of you, Dr. Phil's ahead of you, Zola's ahead of you. I'd be concerned if I was Meerkat. And again, BTech11, look at this. Set his time early on, 132.310, perfectly timed. He'll still make it in without any issue.
Yeah, he's good. Good for Q3. I'm sure he can go quicker than that. I'm sure Dave can go quicker than that. Oh, I hope he can. He was saying in earlier that he wasn't, but I think he could go quicker than that. I'm interested to see what Imperium does in the race as well. Not the best qualifying session. Needs to compose himself, ready for the race.
Yeah, and the big problem, of course, is going to be, just the way that Suzuka is. Overtaking is going to be borderline impossible here.
And so we're saying goodbye to Golden Meter, who was disqualified. Herbie, who's serving a qualifying ban. Fradders, who invalidated 3 times and has now joined the party. Imperium SG with a 141.4 puts him in 12th. And Mercedes AMG will start 11th with a 32.7. Coming into the party right now is Fradders.
Fradders, go ahead, include your audio. In the end, invalidated laps. What happened that kind of kept you from getting a lap in there?
Let's not talk about qualifying. How are you guys doing? Are you all right?
I
We're
feel like
alright,
I'm dealing with
yeah.
a hangover, which is hilarious considering that I've not drank for over half a year. But
Good.
Yeah, good. How are you? How are you?
I'm great. You know.
Yeah.
Starting 13th, best qualifying in Japan. I want to say.
That's good.
Lap. It's I think it's going great.
I think podium incoming.
Well, steady up.
Podium
Did you
incoming.
see what happened in what was it? Back on F1 2019? Didn't just spin in the same spot 2 laps in a row? Just after
Potentially,
coming out
yeah.
of the pits as well.
I think so, yeah.
So don't expect much from me. I will say that.
Alright.
You just
God,
never
so I'm
know.
going to expect you to win by 15 seconds then. Good luck. But no, in all seriously though, Fradders, I want you to go out there, I want you to finish this race, because there are a lot of people betting against you being able to finish this race. Apparently they made a bloody poll on it for the
Fradders, while you're
Twitch.
here, it's not a prediction, it's a poll, so no one's got any of the channel points on it. It's just been, it was just a poll, but I don't know how to see the results now. I believe it was 3-0 that you'll DNF.
So I say go out there and just do whatever it takes to be rain at the finish. Even if it's a lap down, I don't care. I want to see you rain at the finish, mate. I believe in you.
If I were you, I'd make the people happy. Give the people what they want.
I was going to say that's 4-0 votes for a DNF, and that's where my vote's going. But no, I mean, I will always give it a very good go. But unfortunately, this is like my worst track. I absolutely hate it. It's fun to watch. Horrible to drive on the game. I can't stand it. So
Agreed completely.
We will see.
Agreed completely. It's fun. It's fun. It's gonna be fun for us in the commentary box anyway.
Oh yeah, you guys are gonna have a great time. I'm gonna have a torrid time. I think when I was playing like career modes back on that,
Guess what, Mercedes will get you eventually.
It literally might be like from F1 2009. Remember on the Wii, where whenever Suzuki used to come up, I used to just simulate our race. I never played it because I absolutely hate it that much. Like, so the fact that I'm even racing here today, it's just a blessing. You should love my presence today. So
I'll be keeping an eye.
I mean, you say that sarcastically, but I actually am glad that you're here, and I really do think you have what it takes to run to the end. Yes, from my perspective, I say this as someone who has won in open wheel cars at Suzuka. Granted, it was with Indy cars in a different game in the pouring rain, but as someone who's won at Suzuka, my recommendations is this. Turn on TCS. Don't think of the track as a whole. Don't look at the lap counters. Just focus corner after corner after corner. And if you make a mistake on a corner, don't let it get in your head. Immediately focus on the next corner. That's my recommendation to you. I believe you've got this. I believe you can be rain at the finish. I want you to go out there and prove all the haters wrong. Make sure you dab on them haters.
To be fair, racing an IndyCar around here in the wet sounds like a lot of fun. So, hats off to you for that. But you know what? I will give it a good go, and we will see just how many laps I complete until I'm in a wall.
Alright, well that's the word from Fradders. It's been a while since we've heard him in the commentary box. The other driver who has come in here is Mercedes AMG. Mercedes, go ahead, include your audio. Really tight circumstances at the end of the of Q2 involving with you end up losing your front wing in a wall. Make sure your audio's included. What happened out there?
Do you know what? I think because I was really desperate to get into the top 10. Just what it was, pushing too hard, and I obviously my tyres were old as well, but I put less fuel in car and tried to give it as much as I could to try and get into top 10 like, but it didn't work.
Alright, well, you're not going to be starting near the front of the grid, sadly. It's going to be kind of a rear to midfield start. do you think you have a car under you that can bring you home into the points and bring you to the end of this race?
I don't know. It's a pretty tough circuit, isn't it, Japan? There's not much room for overtaking, but we'll give it a try. We'll see.
All right. Well, I hope that we can see some decent things out of you today, mate. You put on a heck of a show. It's kind of a shame it didn't work out for you in Q2. We'll look forward to what you can do in the race, mate.
Cheers, thanks.
All right, so while we were talking to the drivers who got knocked out in the prior round qualifying, 7 of our drivers have already set times. Dragonborn finally in the 130s. Schumacher now showing a little bit closer to what his actual pace is, 130.398. But Herbago, again at the top, 130.112, and it looked to me like Herbago had left some on the track. I think Herbago may have a 29 in that car. I look down the grid. Dr. Phil did not put down quite the lap we were expecting. He's still in the 32s. Flavor set 32.163. Meerkat finally kind of put together a lap closer to what we were expecting of him, but he's still a second off of Dragonborn's time right now. And then I look farther back. BTEC Glebin, he's set time 133.296 after he invalidated his first run, and Eggity ended up invalidated and immediately came into the pits afterwards. Kind of a scattershot qualifying right now. I'd say only about 4 or 5 drivers have put down times properly representing what their pace actually is. I went to say this earlier, but I forgot. I got to talk with Schumacher briefly before the race. He's dealing with a bit of a sickness again. It's the 3rd time this year that he's been dealing with a sickness. So I don't know how committed Schumacher is going to be to go out there and try to set another faster lap, especially if Herbago has a lot more in the tank as well. Schumacher might consider just trying to go out there and stick with a top 2 starting spot instead of, go for pole. He does have nearly 3 race worth of points in his favor, and that's over Zola, let alone Herbago, where he has just a handful extra. Speaking of Zola, Zola right now is on a cooldown lap. He set time 31.908. And Eggity in the AlphaTauri trying to get ready for another flyer here. Most interesting thing to me, though, Paging Dr. Phil set his time 32.367 on medium tires. I really don't know what the strategy is there, because he has set a bunch of his laps on mediums thus far. But we're finally going to see what he can do on the softs, and I would not be surprised if we see a time in the low 31s. So we're going to go silent and round board for a lap with E. Diggity here around Suzuka.
So we're seeing Dr. Phil do a lap. E. Diggity is on and off as well. And I'm back.
Looking the greatest for E. Diggity, he does set a time though in the end, 132.476, which puts him only ahead of Dave and BTEC Glebin. Both of those drivers already on track doing outlaps. Dr. Phil's going to be the wild card here because Phil set his initial lap on medium tires.
Dave has spun on the S's, and there's a car coming. It's E. Diggity. There we are. All good. All good.
Meerkat, 131.853 has been his best lap thus far. He's already come back on track. He wants to improve. Another driver wants to improve is Dragonborn. But right now, Dragonborn is down by nearly a full second this lap, and he's not going to have enough ERS to go for another blitzer.
Yeah,
It's not looking good. And here comes Herbago. I think Herbago is going to go for a 129, and not just that, I think Herbago can get a 129.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get in there. He's only just over a tenth off it. Guaranteed,
Again,
I think.
And I want to say this. I really do have high expectations and high confidence in Herbago. While Herbago was in that streak of DNFs over the last few weeks, I think it's just been he's kind of been getting into his own head because he went and ran the X2 race at Monza. He didn't start anywhere near the front. He took the lead and walked away from top-tier X2 drivers who could contend for championships, and even guys who were X1 reservists. And Herbago dominated there at Monza.
Yeah, he did.
We know he has a lot of ability. We know he can do this. He just needs to keep it together. Frank, I'm going to be honest. Schumacher is coming back out onto the track now. I don't know if Schumacher or Dragonborn or Dr. Phil have what it takes to knock Herbago off.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Dr. Phil just set a lap that put him fourth. So that unless he's got the fuel, that'll be him done. Just watching Jaleben currently. You're watching Meerkat. Okay. Let's see what Meerkat can do though.
And this is going to be Meerkat's only attempt at this because we have less than a minute and 30 seconds left. So if you're not already on the way to the start-finish line right now, there's no chance. So for Dragonborn, who's third, he's not getting another shot at this. You look at Eggity, who's eighth right now, he's not getting another shot at this. Zola and Flavor both need to rush to the line, but I think they will make it with about 30 seconds left on the clock. And that's a McLaren around there. That's Meerkat who's gone around. Right in front of his teammate as well. Oh, and Herbago spins on his flyer! Herbago still has the fastest lap, though!
Oh, dear.
Herbago still has the fastest lap. So right now, Herbago could still walk out of here with the pole position. I think it's possible. Schumacher is trying to go for something. He comes up. There's a McLaren ahead of him. He'll clear the McLaren before it comes an issue.
J-Lo goes 6. Zola just coming round to start his flying lap.
Here comes Flavor to start his flyer as well.
Next one, I think, will be Dave to cross the line.
He's up by 2/10. That'd be enough to put him ahead of Eggity if he keeps it together.
Had a little bit of a...
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a switch coming out of the final corner. He had to hold it together. Just lost a bit of time.
What is Schumacher? Schumacher trying to make a last-moment run at Herbago. Schumacher is feeling ill and under the weather.
If he can hold it like this, he needs to get really another 10th to secure pole. I think he can do it though. Let's see what MSC can do as he approaches the final corner.
Power down! DRS opens, lays on the DRS at the line! 130.059! And he steals it from his rival once again!
A little bit wide from
Dr. Phil is on a lap, but he's down by 4/10 right now. Meerkat will not be able to improve his time either. BTEC Jalebin, he's not going to be able to improve. He's in invalid lap. Zola's invalidated this lap as well. Flavor is down on time, so I don't think Flavor's going to improve much either. Dave is down by 3 seconds, so he's definitely not going to improve.
Yeah, he's done his lap. Phil was 4/10. I'm not sure. He's probably not going to improve. So I think we can safely say that qualifying is done.
Yeah, it looks like qualifying is over, and in the end, Herbago dominated Q1, dominated Q2, dominated the first 12 minutes of Q3, but in the end, a bit of a self-inflicted spin. He saw his teammate Mantic Meerkat around, and I guess that may have gotten into his head, and Herbago spun right afterwards, and that's been Herbago's biggest issue. He keeps getting into his own head. And in the end, that's let Schumacher steal pole position and add one more point to his championship lead. But Herbago is starting second, and if he gets a good enough launch off the grid, he has a chance to maybe overtake Schumacher. Hopefully, we don't see a 1990 Suzuka. I don't think so. I believe both Schumacher and Herbago are both respectable enough drivers to not do that, but Yeah.
Zola invalidated his lap as well. Then it would have put him third with a 30.6 if it hadn't have been.
So now we're prepared to get
Bad
underway
luck,
for the race itself. And again, I said this already in qualifying. I'm going to say this again. It's so critically important to guess right on strategy. It's going to come down to how many yellow flags you have and if you're going to be able to jump onto alternate tire compounds to maximize that. Because every time you pit, it's going to shake up the field quite a bit here. If we go through this race with no yellow flags, only one yellow flag, I think the normal medium to hard or hard medium strategy will be the best. If we see 2, 3, 4 yellows, especially in the early parts of this race, you could start on softs and potentially get a lot of extra running out of it then. But again, you don't want to be caught up behind a driver who's slower because there's only really 2 overtaking opportunities here. And I'll go ahead on a limb and say neither of those overtaking opportunities are that good.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. You're going to have to rely on people making mistakes, I think, to get anywhere in this race.
Yeah.
The dry race.
All right, so real quickly, we want to go ahead and look at the championship standings as they are right now for X3. Real quickly, manufacturers first. You briefly took a look at it earlier, but we'll go ahead and take a deeper look now. 10th is AlphaTauri with 67 points. They've just not really been able to perform most of the season. They've not come anywhere close to coming to 100 points at all. 9th is Williams with 82 points. Imperium SG is with them, and they had Lavelle, who actually came home 10th last week for him. So there's potential in the Williams camp. It's just not been realized. 8th is Aston Martin with 89 points. We know that they can do better. Mercedes-AMG has had a few decent runs. It's just not been enough to bring them into the triple digits. 7th is Alpine with 115 points. 6th is Mercedes with 119. Snake actually brought home a respectable run for the Mercedes last week, and that's why they were able to move up into 6th. 5th is Haas with 128 points, but honestly, with both Dragonborn and BTEC 11 here today, there is a possibility. Not a guarantee, but a possibility we may see them move up. Because 4th is Alfa Romeo with 133 points. Now, Dave has been putting together some great runs, but he is the only Alfa Romeo here. There are 2 Haas's here, so he really needs to overperform in order to keep that team ahead of the Haas's. Then in 3rd, you have Red Bull. They have sitting at 230 points, so about 97 ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and with both Zola and Dr. Phil here, I don't think there's any way that anyone catches them. 2nd is McLaren with 334 points, and 1st is Ferrari with 353 points. This championship fight for the manufacturers has swung back and forth the entire season. In the server, there's actually a statistics, and there's been a graph in the statistics that's plotted the manufacturers championship this entire season. It looks like those two have just been waltzing with each other. It almost reminds me of the dance that Pluto and Charon do, orbiting around each other. Charon doesn't orbit Pluto properly. The two of them orbit around a space, an empty space between them. So interesting astronomy fact for those of you today. In the Drivers' Championship, this is what it looks like. 20th is BTEC 11 with 2 points thus far in the season. 19th is V8 Irons with 6. 18th is Imperium SQ with 12 points. 17th is Goldman with 24. He really needs to earn some points sooner rather than later. 16th is Mercedes-AMG with 28 points. 15th is Paging Dr. Phil. He has 28 points. 14th is Ferraz with 29 points. 13th is Higgs Boston 97 with 32. 12th is Dragonborn with 36 points. 11th is Eggity with 43 points. 10th is XR Snake with 48. 9th is Lovell XV with 54. 8th is AK Herbie, 53. He has 58 points. 7th is Colored Boy, 65 points. 6th is XR Dave with 68. Flavor is 5th with 85. Now, Flavor has been gotten into 5th in championship by showing up every race, and he's finished almost every race he started.
It's all about strategy for him.
The big problem, though, for Flavor, though, is that the Alfa Romeos of Dave and Colored Boy have absolutely exploded out of the box over the last few weeks. Flavor may be at risk of losing 5th in championship to one of the Alfa Romeo boys. Then you get to the fight for 2nd. Well, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the championship. It's really all kind of messy there. 4th is Mantic Mirror Cat with 142 points. Realistically, he's out of the championship fight, but 2nd or 3rd could still be on play for him. 3rd is Herbago, only 190 points. He's not earned any points in the last 3 weeks. He'll definitely want to be trying to turn that around. 2nd is XR Zola, 194 points. Leading right now on the top of the sheets is Schumacher SS7 with 268 points. So let that sink in for a bit. Schumacher has an advantage of 72 points over Zola, 74 over Herbago. Nearly 3 races worth of points over his 2 closest rivals, with 8 races left in the season. Now, we've seen drivers throw away runs like that before. I'm reminded a bit of the 2000 Formula One season, where we saw Mika Hakkinen have a similar advantage, and then McLaren completely crapped the bed near the very end and ended up letting Schumacher go on a tear near the end of the season and clinch the title at Suzuka. We've seen those kind of championship leads deteriorate, but it definitely means that Schumacher's in a position where right now, if he can average finishing second or third to the end of the season, he will pretty much lock up the title by default. All it takes is 2 DNFs, honestly, and a few wins by Zola or Herbago, and the championship gets blown open again.
Yeah, you just never know, do you? You really don't. Anything could happen today as well. Anything could happen today.
Yeah. Again, you really can't overtake here, so strategy is going to be incredibly important. Your your finishing position here is almost going to be random. And again, the other thing, Alfa Romeo versus Flavor for 5th in championship, and then McLaren versus Ferrari for the Manufacturers Championship as well. Those are the 3 main fights I'm looking at today.
Yeah, and now the drivers are starting their formation laps. I'll keep an eye on the back if you keep an eye on the front, as per.
That sounds good to me. I look at the grid, look at this. Everyone is on medium starts with one exception, Dragonborn. And the Haas is going to be starting on hard tire compounds. I like that strategy. Way off of everyone else's gimmick. He's going to try and do something way different to try and make something happen here.
Could work, you never know.
I know through most of the season, the meta has been go medium to hards. We've actually saw Schumacher lose a race to Herbago off of that when he started a race at Red Bull, ran on hards and went to the mediums. And while he was faster through the majority of the race, he lost enough time in the first 2 laps getting the tires up to temperature that was enough for Herbago to, an overall pace, overcome it. But I've always been a fan of getting off strategy. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Never do what everyone else is doing, because if you're doing what everyone else is doing, then it's going to be even hard for you to pass the person ahead of you, because they're going to be on the exact same strategy. They'll know your stuff. It'll be hard for the person behind you to even do anything to you as well, because they'll know what you're doing. They'll do the exact same thing. I really like Dragonborn's strategy there. Really keep an eye on him. I think he may be able to make something work out today.
Yeah, you never know. Dragonborn on hard. That was like last week's strategy in Singapore. Hard, medium. Of course, starting on the mediums, you open yourself up to a 2-stop in case we get safety cars. Whereas Dragonborn probably won't have that. There's been a spin! It's AKA Herbie. He spun on his flyer. On his formation lap.
So 16 drivers will be taking to the track today. Herbago didn't get properly lined up on the grid there, but don't worry about the disqualification. It will be fixed. We are going to ride on board with 4th place paging Dr. Phil at the start. And like you said, go ahead and cut me off if you see anything significant in the rear of the grid on this first lap, because this lap 1 is going to be the most incredible and important time to make overtakes here.
Yeah, it will be. I'll keep an eye, see what happens. Let's have a look. V8 irons lining up, just waiting for Herbie. Here we go then.
Here come the lights. 4 lights. 5 lights. It's lights out. Away we go at Suzuka. It was not a great sight by Herbago. Here's Dragonborn. He's already by him. Here comes Dr. Phil. The McLarens did not get the start they need. Herbago has fallen from the front row all the way back in the 5th position behind his teammate. Alfa Romeo goes off farther back. Dr. Phil and Dragonborn having an incredible fight. Dragonborn takes 2nd position over Dr. Phil on the hard tire compounds. Here comes Mantic Meerkat behind the Red Bulls.
What a clean start. I did not expect it to be that clean, to be honest. At the race start, I thought it was going to be carnage, but it actually wasn't. A little wobble there by V8 irons near the back means Dave looking, he goes onto the grass and backs out.
Meerkat is right behind Dr. Phil and is putting some incredible pressure on him right now. Looks to the inside, taps the Red Bull going into the hairpin, but he went for a gap that simply did not exist. He obviously thinks that the way to go around here is Senna. Now Meerkat steps aside. He's going to let his teammate Herbago pass.
V8 Irons hits the back of Dave, means Golminator gets through. Up into 14.
And Imperium watches that fight overall, but as we continue to watch this fight at the front, now is Herbago. He's back up into the fourth position. He sees Dr. Phil ahead of him. Phil trying to run. Oh, this is really interesting because Dr. Phil and Herbago are swerving back and forth to try and follow and break the draft as they go down that back straightaway. We're probably going to see the same thing as they go down the front stretch as well.
Contact between Herbie and V8 Irons on 130R. And V8 Irons went in a bit of a spin, hit the wall, and he's going to go into the pits and change his tyres and repair his wing. A little bit further ahead, actually, we've got Dave and Golminator side by side. Golminator gets past Dave for 12th place.
Oh, wow, look at Eggity. He's looking on the outside. Dave, all these drivers are being held up by Fratters just a little bit there. Here comes Dave on the outside. You can't make an overtake in turn 2, but he's going for it anyway. He falls in 3, and he's finally got back on the run through 4. And now Team spins, and he gets hit, and Eggity runs right into him.
Eggity spins. He's right on that racing line, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, Eggity is just on the... Yeah, that's going to have to be a virtual safety car. A virtual safety car comes out, and Eggity crashes out after Golminator spins right in front of him.
That's the first one, then.
And Dave may have damage from contact as well.
So we get either first to DNF the race. Oh, why is Dr. Phil slowing down so much there? Probably because it's a VSC, but Herbago nearly went into him. Herbago nearly went into him, which is why I was a little bit, ooh, what's happening?
Well, we should be going green sometime soon here. V8 Irons went ahead and jumped onto hard tires to repair damage to his car after he had an incident. Golminator and Dave are the ones I'm really worried about, though, because Golminator, he got shot right in the side by Ediggity, and it looked like Dave may have clipped him as well, so I'm curious to see if they'll be able to stay on track. No, Dave stays out.
Golminator
for speeding under the virtual safety car. So it goes bad to worse for Golminator.
And B-Tech has a little twitch. Contact between him and Zola, as Zola overtakes. Zola up into 6th, Flavor into 7th. B-Tech drops 2 places.
All right, and coming in the party right now is Ediggity. Eggity, go ahead, include your audio. Big accent there in the S's. What happened? Oh, Zola gets a time penalty for cutting corners now.
I gotta say, I'm disappointed to be talking to you this early. I don't know who that was that lost it. I just couldn't get out of the way in time.
I think it was Golminator who spun in front of himself and Dave, and then there's not much you can do in that situation when a driver spins. You don't have enough time to do anything about it.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I thought I'd have a top 5 car today.
Well, the question now is, do you think you have a car under? Do you think you'll be able to rebound next week?
Yeah, I hope to. USA gotta make a show at my home track, right? So hopefully.
All right. Well, hopefully it works out for you, mate. It's a shame to see that happen to you. Hopefully things turn around for you next week. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, though.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
No worries. You too.
Thanks.
So at the front, Dragonborn is hounding Schumacher, and Dragonborn, I think he may be doing that same strategy we've seen before, where he does an extreme underfuel compared to everyone else and uses that to charge down on better drivers. Dr. Phil is in 3rd, holding Herbago up at the same time, though.
Herbago's all over the back of him, trying to find a little bit of a gap to get through. In fact, he's using overtake to try and make a... But there's just not enough room for him. He's going for it here.
Oh, he's going for it here. Side by side, he bullies the Red Bull off, and Dr. Phil is not taking it.
He's having none of it. He goes into the
Contact!
back of
And that's a
it.
winglet! And Herbago may
And
have
now there's
damaged his
more
wing!
contact
And he
and
goes
he's
around!
spun.
And Dr. Phil says, I have had enough with you to the ranch!
Ribargo spun then. Surely that's a penalty coming. I think that's got to be a penalty for Dr. Phil saying that, though. It wouldn't have.
I don't
that
know.
wouldn't have
Herbago
happened.
ran. I don't know. Herbago,
Yeah,
I was
that
right
would-
on board with Meerkat, and Herbago ran right into the back
mean,
of Dr. Phil, going into
that-
the hairpin, pushed the Red Bull wide, and the Red Bull, it looked like both the McLaren and the Red Bull weren't properly on power coming around the hairpin, and the
Yeah,
Red
I
Bull
mean,
may have come down into the McLaren. It
I-
may be a racing instant.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that would have happened if Ribargo hadn't have hit him in the first place, going right in the braking zone. Braking too late. I don't think that would have happened if they hadn't have come into the back of him, but...
Well, now it's back to
sure that's
Mantic
gonna be the
Meerkat.
words.
Yeah, now it's back to Mantic Meerkat. He is the one who needs to go against Dr. Phil, but at the front, Dragonborn has been hounding Schumacher. And the
Yeah.
big thing here is that Bourne has, right now, by the looks of it, a better tire strategy. He's on the hards, and he's keeping pace, if not slightly faster than Schumacher at the front here. Oh,
Yeah, and there's
Ricardo's
a-
crashed out! And there we are! Once
Did he?
again! No, he's retired in the pits!
Retire in the pit,
Well,
yeah.
4 races in a row, no
That'll
points
be a
for
qualifying ban
Herbago!
then. Yeah, that'll be a qualifying ban for him next week, I believe, for retiring in the pits. Silly that.
And not just that, that will put McLaren in a massive hole when it comes to Manufacturers' Championship, because both of the Ferraris are still on track. They're running top 6, both of them, and only one McLaren is still there. He's only 4th, and that's Meerkat, who's caught up behind Dr. Phil. And Meerkat's even more prone to anger and instance than Herbago has been across the season.
What I don't get is all it takes is one safety car. Yes, you're down in 13th and you're not getting any points, but all it takes is one safety car and you're back in the fight. Why are you retiring in the pits this early? You know, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things that it don't like to see it really. But then again, if you do it, you get a qualifying ban. So it's up to him really what he does. New fastest lap MSC 134.4.
Yeah, maybe
And that
Dragonborn's
gap's
used up
starting
everything
to-
in the car because he's fallen off significantly now.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got 16, well, about 20% ERS, and MSC at 70%. Those medium tyres are certainly quicker.
Dr. Phil is not really closing on the drivers ahead either, and Meerkat is caught up behind
Oh.
Dr. Phil.
And Dave overtaken around the S's, aka Herbie, up to 10th.
All right, and coming to the party right now is Herbago. Herbago, go ahead, include your audio. Big instant there between you and Dr. Phil. What happened? Oh, wow! And Meerkat bullies his way by Dr. Phil in the same area that Herbago couldn't. Herbago, can
huge
you hear
fight.
us?
Huge fight going behind for 9th place. Brada's finally giving up to the pressure, giving up under the pressure.
Ozola making the run on Meerkat, side by side for 3rd. As they go down, the alternate start finish straightaway, and Dr. Phil's behind Gator Draft on both of them. All 3 cars gonna be right on top of each other as they come down 130R. Here comes Dr. Phil on the outside of Zola. He's gonna call the position, and now Zola falls back down to 5th.
And again,
Dr. Phil's gonna
teammates
make the run
fighting.
on Meerkat now. DRS will come into play this time going down the front straightaway. V8 Irons had an instant there coming out of the S's. Here comes Dr. Phil on the outside. He'll easily overtake Meerkat. Phil goes back into 3rd position.
And Mantic and Phil and Zola, 3-way battle, 2 Red Bulls versus a McLaren. Jeff
And
gets
here
past
comes Herbie on the inside of Dave.
J11, Mercedes were side by side for a second. J11 stays in 7th now. A little bit further back, this fight is still going on between Dave and Fradders and Herbie. The 9th
Zola
place.
has a run on the McLaren, but is
Dave
not going
goes
to
for a
push it
move.
here.
Dave's going for a
Oh, he
move on the
touches him!
S's.
And Zola dumps Meerkat! And both of the McLarens have had accidents in the first 7 laps of this race! And Meerkat's gonna fall to 6th! He's gonna fall to 8th! He might fall all the way out of the points paying
V8
position!
Irons.
And V8 Irons has crashed out!
V8 Irons has crashed out as Herbie was on the grass. which means, but Dave can't get through. Gosh. Bit of contact. Unbelievable. What a lap this is.
And we're seeing drivers being extremely desperate here because they know there's no way to overtake around this circuit, so everyone's just been extremely desperate, and in the end, it's the McLarens who have ended up with the worst scenario. America spun around! America spun right around the Mercedes, and now Fratters and Dave are both going to go by Herbie! Dave is in 8th, and Fratters is in 9th! And here comes Imperium on the that's Herbie on the outside, and the Herbie's going to get that by at the last moment! Right there at 130R! Here comes Fratters! He's going to go on the outside! He's going to make contact with the Mercedes! And they all go off! And now Dave is going to be in the best position because the Mercedes has a time penalty for corner cutting! He goes off circuit again! Here comes Fratters! Fratters gets by the Mercedes again! DRS comes into play! And that's going to bring the field back down on Dave as a run down to turn 1!
After all that, Dave has ended up in 7th place. Zola goes into the pits. Zola pits. Onto hard tyres.
Oh, Dave into the dirt there, and that's going to let the Alpine back by, but he's going to block Herbie in the process. Alpine goes into the grass. Hey!
Oh, he didn't swing. Oh my God.
He barely missed him.
Jesus Christ.
Oh
what
my
are they
goodness.
doing?
These cars are driving horrible, and these drivers are putting on one of the best shows I think we've had all season long.
One of the best fights we've seen in a long time next to this. Oh my gosh.
All
Just
driver
swapping
skill, bad cars, no DRS, no gimmicky bullcrap. It's just drivers being drivers and horrible equipment trying to make something happen out of it. And in the end, it looks like Dave is the one who's going to come out in front. He has a 1.2 second advantage over Herbie there.
God.
Wow!
Oh, speechless on that. Just 3 drivers battling it out. It's what we like to see. It's what X3 is all about. This is why this league is this tier is so entertaining.
This is why I always stick with broadcasting X3. Yes, X1 I know has some of the best drivers and all, but man, when X3 delivers, it delivers some of the best stuff you will ever see. So while all that's happened, Flavor is now up in the 4th position. BTEC Delebin is now 5th. Mercedes is 6th, and Zola, he jumped onto the hard tires very early on, and now he is back there in 13th, way off strategy compared to everyone else. Interestingly enough, though, no full course yellows. We've only had a VSC at this stage in the race.
Yeah, just a singular VSC, and Mercedes AMG gets past BTEC Delebens at the end of Sector 1. Up into 5th, and there's a yellow flag.
That's Galminator who spun ahead of Zola, so it'll make Zola's charge back through the field a little bit easier now.
It will. And now Dave, with that 2.6 second gap, he's just flown off since that overtake.
Yeah, Fratters has not let Herbie pass yet. Come on, get him, Fratters. I know you not only is Fratters trying to just stay alive to the end of this race, Fratters is in position to properly fight for points as well.
Yeah, he's in the points as it stands. What we like to see. Fratters getting some points on the board, and Herbie's gone very wide there at Spoon.
Very wide coming onto the back straightaway. Well, Fratters had a much better exit. He's in the draft. He's pulling down on him via the draft on the alternate start-finish line straight.
Just starting lap 11 here. J-Lev and Mercedes are still fighting.
Also, Mantic Meerkat has closed in behind Imperium, so Meerkat trying to recover from his pair of spins. Interesting enough, Meerkat is still on the same set of medium tires that he had those spins on.
Yeah,
so those tires will have some extra wear on them. I think Imperium has a setup on that car that doesn't have as much downforce on the rear because I'm looking, and that Williams looks really happy, and he's around! And Imperium, hard to the wall, and he's out of it! Just as I was talking about Imperium, it looked like the rear end went out on him, there's just not enough downforce, and the car shoots into a wall. We stay green, apparently.
Yeah. It doesn't help when the tires are on either.
Back into the points.
Doesn't help when the tires are worn either, you know. Having like not much downforce on a track like this, you know. It's all about having control of the car. And
Yeah.
Imperium
Well, this puts Meerkat back
We've
into
lost it a little
10th
bit.
and moves Zola up
Yeah.
into 11th now.
does solo with that 11. That gap's actually coming down quite a little bit. They're closing
Yeah,
in on
Meerkat's
Meerkat.
on worn mediums and
And he's still
Zola's
got a
on
pit as
fresh
well.
hards. Yeah, this is going to get really interesting. My big question, though, is will Zola really be able to make these hards last to the end, or is Zola betting
think
on
he
a late
could.
race yellow to jump onto softs, maybe?
Nah, I think Zola could. He's like the guy for strategy in XRL, so I think he knows what he's doing.
This is true. Yeah, this is very true.
Yeah, but this is like now all the drivers are kind of spread apart quite a bit.
Mhm.
Not really much to watch.
Yeah, the main fight right now is going to be between Schumacher and Dragonborn at the front. Dragonborn has seen the gap between himself and Schumacher be as close as 2/10 and as far open as 2.5 seconds. And Dragonborn looks very slow out of some of these corners. I think Dragon may have realized that that extreme underfuel strategy may not be working. He might be trying to save fuel at this stage in the race now, because we've not had any yellows.
No, we haven't yet.
We have had a virtual safety car early in the event. And this is
But
kind of how
it's,
Singapore played out.
Both Dragon and MFC have similar levels of fuel, so not really, nothing really in that. Oh, Herbie's half second behind Fradders all of a sudden. Looking.
Frater's really struggling on those worn tires. Herbie's trying to make moves here, and Spoon not going to commit to
no.
it yet.
And interestingly,
Oh.
Dragonborn sets the
Oh.
fastest lap on hard tyres. A 1 minute 34. Can't remember the rest, to be honest. But it's the fastest lap of the race.
I mean, you can always pull up the settings and
yeah,
change
I
it from
guess.
gaps to that. Flavor
Yeah,
making his stop on lap 12. And here
And
comes Herbie.
Herbie.
Here we are. It's going to be Senna versus Prost into the chicane. Herbie does not want to cause a controversy.
Maybe
He backs
looking at
out of
the
it. He's
old-
not going to blame. Yeah, he's not interested in
Fradders goes
blaming.
into the
Oh,
pits, and that may have put
yeah,
Herbie
Dave
off a
is
little
pitted
bit.
as well.
And in
Yeah.
fact, Mantic is
Stays
only-
out.
Mantic stays out, but he's actually pretty close now to Herbie. Will Zola get past Dave and Fradders? He probably should. And he does.
Well, Zola did not get by Flavor, though. Zola is still well behind Flavor at the
Yeah.
moment. Although we know Zola's faster than Flavor. Flavor making his stop. He's still in the top 10. This could be a great windfall day in the
Yeah, it
points
could
for
be
the
alright.
Ferrari camp.
Yeah, it looks alright for him so far. Oh, and there's been a spin, XRL Dave.
And that will drop him out of the points-paying positions.
That's not good either. He's just pitted on fresh hard, so those tyres are... Actually, the tyres won't be overly warm, I don't think. I think that may have been good rather than bad.
Fratters is on fresh hards and now closing on his teammate Golminator, who is still on the same set of tires he started this race on.
Now then, you can tell the mediums are dropping because MFC pits as the gap was 0.6 seconds between them. Dragonborn moves into the lead of the race. And Phil will move into second.
Is Mercedes close enough to move into third? I think he may be. Golminator will move aside and let Fratters by. Actually, no, I take that back. Golminator's had a spin
And in
and
fact,
has damaged his
Mercedes
front wing.
And Jay led pits.
So Dragonborn now on hard tires with nobody ahead of him. I think
Right, the pit
Dragonborn's
window.
going to go for this win on this crossover. So in the end, I don't know if it's just that he's faster or if the hard-medium strategy is actually better than the medium to hard. Because right now, we are looking at
We'll
a
find
scenario
out.
where Dragonborn is going to win this race.
Still got a pit, so we'll find out soon. When he
Yeah, the
pits, where
thing
he
is, though,
comes out.
Dragonborn has all these laps under fresh air, so his hards aren't going to fall off as much. And then when he jumps on the mediums, he'll be on mediums, Schumacher will be on hards, and that means he'll be faster through the corners and be able to utilize DRS.
That's the
Oh, and
theory.
Imperium's crashed out.
Yeah, Imperium. Yeah. Alright. Crashed out a while ago, didn't he?
You're right, he did. I don't know why. The game only just now gave me the notification for it.
Yeah, he just left, I think, the server. Culminator 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane.
Meerkat's overtaken Fratters without too much issue. Although Fratters tries to go back on him and went for a really high-risk, no-reward move and ended up hurting his own self.
Yeah.
But Meerkat's now barreling down on AK Herbie at the moment. So Meerkat driving angry, trying to overcome the pair of spins that he had early in the event. Dr. Phil is pitted as second now.
Now Zola finds himself in 5th after being in 7th for a while.
Yeah, Zola's closed in on Flavor pretty quickly. I think Zola is en route to another easy podium by the looks of it. Maybe not easy. I think his teammate will make it a bit hard, but Zola was kind of in this position at Singapore, just kind of 5th to 7th-ish, and then in the end came home second when it came to penalty countbacks and overall track position.
That was some luck that he had in Singapore. It's all about, if it's a safety car, you know, it could be anyone's to win. It really could. As of right now, I think MSC, depending on how Dragonborn gets on in his pit stop, I think this could be MSC's to win. The gap 23.6 between them. Now Mantic all over the back of Herbie. Not close enough for a move into turn 1.
Yeah, but Meerkat's been extremely aggressive in throwing his cars up in places you don't normally see overtakes at. So has Herbie, though. Thing is, Meerkat's just been way faster. I don't know how long this is going to go on. And the other thing to consider, though, is that if these two get into it, it could bring Dave and Fratters back into the fray.
Yeah, it could if they start fighting. You know, you can see that Dave's quite.
Oh, here it comes. Here comes Meerkat. He's way faster coming around the outside.
Oh, contact!
Contact! And the McLaren goes off!
This is now helping Dave and Fratters quite a lot. If these two are fighting like this, Dave's going to get the position. MSC with fastest lap.
Schumacher just set the fastest lap on fresh hards.
Yeah.
Meerkat's got a great run on Herbie coming out to the alternate start-finish straight.
Yeah, he's in his DRS. He's going to go for it
Does
in
he make a move into 130R?
No.
It's going to be a high risk. He backs out of it.
Nah, you don't go for a move there. I mean, you could. You could, but it's risky.
Yeah, he wasn't close enough to make it stick. But
Go
he's going to
for
have
it here.
DRS come out to the front straightaway this time. I think this will be it for Meerkat.
Yeah, he's going to get it here. Good opportunity, actually, in turn 1. And he's going for the move, but again,
Backs out of it.
The game breaks for
I
you
think
there.
the Herbie might have a lower downforce setup than what most of the other drivers he's been fine with has been dealing with. And Meerkat, we know the McLarens run low downforce setups, but these two may be a lot more even when it comes to aero packages than we think. Dragonborn's paying out of the lead, so this is going to be the real fight. Dragonborn versus Schumacher.
He's going for
at
it
the
now.
front.
Meerkat goes
Here
for
comes
the move.
Meerkat. Same trend
gets
thing he tried
through,
earlier.
but
This
he's
time,
on
Herbie backs
gravel.
out of it. Again, he goes into the gravel, and Herbie is still there. Herbie's coming for it
through
again. Meerkat can't seem to keep the car together through
But now
there,
they're going
but
for it.
Meerkat will keep it
The
through
old
out of
switcheroo.
the hairpin.
Going for the old switcheroo, and Herbie gets the better exit.
Side by side through a high-speed bendy straight, and Dave is right behind them as well, ready to capitalize. Out of spoon.
Late breaking into spoon from Meerkat sends him up, but who's going? And that's him through there.
Oh, big twitch out of it, though, and now Herbie's got the
Ow.
draft, and Herbie's coming back. And Dave is there as well, mind you.
Herbie not wanting
Herbie's not
to
gonna commit
take
to it
here,
yet.
but gotta be careful because again the game does break
He's
for you.
so close. He is so close, and Dave is right there ready to capitalize if something happens. Herbie a lot worse out of the final chicane. That might be enough for Meerkat to hold the defense. Oh, I don't know. Herbie is flying back already. He's already within half a second. Already within a fourth, a third, a quarter, a tenth. Does not make the move up to 1. I think Meerkat can open up the gap now.
And get this right, Dragonborn
But at the
comes
front,
out of the pit.
at the front,
Damn.
Dragonborn is ahead of Schumacher. I thought that maybe Dragonborn has the advantage. Maybe the hard to medium strategy is the better one. because it does not look like Schumacher has anything for Dragonborn. Born's now on better tires. Born has less fuel, so the tires aren't going to go away. The only thing Schumacher has in his favor now is a little spurt of DRS on the straights. Otherwise, Born's in clean air. I think he's going to walk this now.
Yeah, the gap is less than a second. Still never know. Still off by 4. And now Matic moved that gap up to 1.6 seconds, so that's that battle done. Yellow flag
Yellow
for
flag,
Golminator.
that's Golminator, who has spun out of the first corner right in front of the leaders. And check this out, Dr. Phil runs third by himself, but Flavor in fourth now has to try and hold off Zola. Flavor
Zola's
is on
caught
better tires than
rather
Zola,
nicely.
though.
Zola's caught up rather nicely to Flavor. Only a second the gap.
All right, another fight to take note of. BTEC 11 and Mercedes continue their mid-grid fight for about 6th position as it stands.
Herbie onto the grass, and Dave has an opportunity to overtake here, and he does. Dave moves
Great
up to
job by
9.
Dave.
And he gets the DRS as well. Herbie with his low downforce, or what seems to be low downforce, is actually keeping pace with Dave and his DRS. Zola then, only a couple of tenths behind Flavor.
Oh, Herbie dropped the tire into the grass going into turn 2, but it did not work out. For a track that you don't have a lot of overtaking at, this has been an incredibly intense race.
Oh, it has. It takes a lot of concentration around here. It's so twisty turny, and there are opportunities to overtake if you can find them. Gotta do your race. Dragonborn.
Dragonborn has just set the fastest time. Yeah, there's nothing that Schumacher has against Dragonborn right now. Dragon's just going to open up the gap on these tires, and the mediums take a long time to fall off. I think in the end, Dragonborn being off strategy is going to probably win him this race, but he has had some incredible pace, though.
Yeah, he's got the pace to do it.
All right, here's Zola and Flavor. Each should be an easy DRS overtake on the Ferrari ahead.
Dave has
Dave,
DNF
no!
from the race. Unbelievable.
Is that a yellow,
death.
or do we stay green? No, we stay green.
Yeah, there's no one around him.
And Zola did not complete the overtake on Flavor.
He wasn't able to make the move.
Nope, there it
there
is.
we
Full
go.
course safety car comes out now.
Yeah. This
With
is
9
helping.
laps to go, roughly.
Let's see what the drivers do then.
Do you pit for softs? Can softs make it to the end? Or
I'm
do you
inclined
jump
to
onto a
say
set
no.
of mediums?
I'm inclined to say no, it's too risky. I'm also inclined to say don't pit at all because, the hard tyres, they're only 4, 5, 6 laps old.
What about Zola, though? Zola is on
Imperial.
10
Who's
lap
that? Oh,
one
that was
hard.
Dave, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think Zola should pit. I'm not sure, really. I'm interested to see what happens.
Because if you
Dragonborn
pit,
and-
you're going to lose a bunch of positions. Nope,
Yeah, you
the
are.
top 2 stay out. Yeah, that's the thing. It's almost impossible to make overtakes here, especially overtakes when you're
Yeah.
not going to hemorrhage a bunch of time. I think a lot of drivers are just going to stick on their tires.
Stick with what you've got and hope for the best. We'll fill up. Phil does pit. So Phil pits.
So that's a little bit interesting because Flavor is close enough to actually overtake him due to that.
Flavor stays out. Zola stays
Zola
out.
stays out. So Zola stays out on these extremely worn hards. And now we have 2 Ferraris in the top 3.
Jay left pit.
Mercedes is... Yeah, but Mercedes is going to end up ahead of Dr. Phil as well. So Dr.
Yeah.
Phil's going to fall all the way back out of the top 5 down to
Down to
6th.
sixth, but with fresh mediums, a bit of pace. Take pits. Herbie
Yeah,
pits.
B-Tech and
And
Mantic
Fratis
pit. Yeah, I
too.
think closer to the back of the grid, it's kind of a scenario. It's like you might as well pit. There's not really a whole lot you're going to lose in that scenario. Also, for drivers who had
worth a try.
5-second time penalties, they'll probably go ahead and try to serve that if they can. But at the front, Dragonborn, fresh air, mediums. Schumacher has more worn hards, but under under the safety car, this benefits Bourne significantly, although this does mean that Schumacher will be back within striking distance of the Haas.
Oh, this contact. Culminator with... Who was that with? That was with
Schumacher.
Schumacher. Yeah, Schumacher.
Yeah.
Why is he so close?
Also, I don't know. He might be hoping that they'll let him onto the lead lap. It is
You would
possible
think.
if both Schumacher and Flavor go off circuit, like off of the normal
Yeah.
racing lines, the game will say, hey, Culminator can go ahead and advance. I don't think Schumacher's going to do that because he doesn't know if Dragonborn's going to do that as well. Last thing Schumacher wants to do is go off circuit and give Culminator the position, and then Dragonborn doesn't do it, and then Schumacher has to deal with a lap car in between as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Zola has made his stop. Zola waited a lap to make his stop. And the thing is, the field all gathered up, so now Zola is going to drop way down the grid to 6th, possibly. He'll be on fresh mediums. He'll be behind his teammate Dr. Phil, though. So Zola's going to have to fight a teammate. We've not seen a whole lot of love lost between Zola and Dr. Phil. They respect each other. They know they're teammates, but they race each other just as hard as anyone else out there. This is going to be rough for them. And now look at this. Mercedes is now all of a sudden up into the 4th position. And the driver he's been fighting, BTEC 11, is back there in 7th. He'll be on fresher rubber, but he'll have 2 Red Bulls between him and the Aston Martin.
Yeah.
I think still that it's going to be Dragonborn who's going to walk off with this victory. But Schumacher, he's right there in 2nd. We saw this at Zandvoort, although in that scenario, there was no yellow late in the event. We used up all the allotted yellow flags in the event, and because of that, Dragonborn, who had underfueled by 7 laps, walked off with, I think it was like an 18-second lead by the end of that race over Schumacher. Schumacher saved some of the best times on the field, but it didn't matter. Dragonborn saved the fastest lap every lap at the end of that race. Today, Schumacher has a chance to possibly right that against Dragonborn, but even if he doesn't, if Schumacher can come home, podium position, he will significantly extend his points lead, because right now Zola's back there in 6th. Herbago's not even finished. Right now it's gone back to another scenario where it looks like it's going to be Schumacher versus Zola for the championship. And again, manufacturer-wise, Meerkat's 8th, but we have 2 Ferraris in the podium positions.
Yeah, we do. It's a good day for Ferrari.
Ah, man, this is... that's one... Oh, no, there we are. Safety car
there we
coming in
go,
this
yeah.
lap officially.
And Culminator lets everyone
Herbie-
through, which is fair.
Herbie and Friars have to kind of rush up. Well, Culminator tried to let him through, but Flavor did not take the bait, so Flavor will have to try and overtake the Alpine when they go green.
As soon as it goes
So
free,
Flavor
move out
needs-
of the way, basically. That's what you
Yeah.
should do.
All right, how does Dragonborn bunch up the field out of the final chicane? Because we've seen Dragonborn in this position before, and he'll wait to go until the last possible moment.
And he's gone.
There he is. He's got him. And Schumacher could not do anything. Herbie's actually gotten by Meerkat
And
farther back.
Culminator's not letting people through. This is a little bit awkward.
Dr. Phil's by
This
Mercedes.
is
Now
bad.
Dr. Phil sets his sights on Phil.
Culminator's
I mean,
not letting
Phil
people
sets his sights
through.
on Flavor.
There we go.
Oh,
now
he
lets
doesn't
it
have to.
through.
He slurs off circuit. He lost
Yeah,
control there, I think.
Yeah. The
And
Mercedes all
already
over Phil.
Dragonborn more than a second away from Schumacher. So for Schumacher, I think he's just going to have to settle with 2nd. There's no way he can catch the Haas by the looks of it. The
Not
fight's
much
going to be for 3rd. Dr. Phil trying to do something against Flavor. Phil's on better tires. Phil has less fuel in the tank. And I think Phil has had a bit better pace as well. Here he comes. He's making the move here.
Full on Flavor into Spoon. Late braking from Flavor, but just overshot it. And Phil is
Well,
into 3rd.
Phil got alongside Flavor coming into the braking
now
zone. I think that
Mercedes.
caught Flavor unaware.
And now Mercedes there into the braking zone. Into 130 also. Just looking to get past Flavor. Zola as well looking to get past Mercedes with J-Leb.
And Peter Clement runs to the back of
Oh.
Zola and damages his wing. And Meerkat's very nearly lost it out himself out of the chicane, and
And
now
he's actually
Frater's
losing
gonna
out to
get by
Frater's.
him. And Herbie has a run on the McLaren as well
Are we
now.
really going to go 3
Oh, well,
wide?
they're gonna be 3 wide. They're gonna be 3 wide coming into 1. And Meerkat backs out of it, and Herbie does not. Herbie tries to stick on down. Frater's is gonna make a move on Gillespie. Can't make it stick. The Alpine really struggling, and that's backing up Meerkat to Herbie. There's going to be contact between someone here. There is. The
I see
Alpine
it,
hits
yeah.
the back of the Haas. And now the Mercedes hits the back of the McLaren.
And now Frater's up 7.
McLaren's by VTEC.
Haas all the way down to 10th. Letting everyone through. Doesn't have a
And there
win.
goes the McLaren. Shoots out of there with all the speed he can muster and is now into 7th.
Gotta be careful of. Oh, no, yeah. Points for Frater's,
Fla-
potentially.
I hope so. I really want to see him prove everyone wrong and run at the end here.
He's been
This
ninth
fight is
now.
still not over. Herbie, Frater's side by side. Herbie gets by Frater's because
These two have
Frater's
been
has
fighting all
wing damage.
race. They've been fighting
Yeah,
all
but
race.
Frater's
these
has
two.
wing damage. I think that's going
Yeah.
to decide that fight in the end. Mercedes runs behind Flavor, has not been able to get by him yet,
Oh,
but
who's
DRS
that?
will come in
Dominates.
his favor shortly.
Dominator spin. But Dr. Phil in the lead, then 1.5 seconds into the gap. And a new fastest lap. I think he's got this in the bag unless he makes any mistakes.
DRS has now officially been enabled, but we're not going to see the advantages of that until we start lap 24.
No.
But yeah, Dragonborn's in a great position. There's no cars ahead of him. Schumacher's not able to keep close enough to even utilize DRS. Dragonborn's going to be able to make this to the end. Now, his tires will be a little bit pained in the last lap or two
Another
of the
yellow
event.
flag, and
McLaren,
that's
Meerkat has gone around.
Yeah.
And Jalebin has made a stop. He wants to throw on softs to the end of this race. But Meerkat, another spin. I'm going to say this. If McLaren loses the Manufacturers' Championship, it's going to be because of today. Herbago spinning out and then
Yeah.
self-ending his race in the pits. And then Meerkat's had at least a half dozen spins as well.
No.
That's going to be... Well, meanwhile, Flavor and Schumacher have really not done anything wrong today.
I mean,
If
this,
McLaren loses Manufacturers, this is going to be why.
I mean, this is the first race in a long time that I can remember that the McLarens haven't. That at least one of the McLarens hasn't been, in the top 5, top 6 positions. So, not a great day for them. Good day, however, for Ferrari, 2nd and 4th currently.
Yeah, but that fight for 4th is getting really hard because Mercedes is right there behind Flavor, and not to say he's going to have a great DRS run when they come onto the main straightaway. I think Flavor's
Flavor's gonna
might
have
only be able to
DRS.
come home with 6th.
Well, Flavor's going to have
Oh yeah,
DRS
Flavor
on
is close
Phil.
enough to Phil. You're right. Flavor will have DRS on Phil. Can Mercedes put the power down fast enough to try and get by Flavor? It does not look like it. No, Mercedes had a bad run coming onto the straight, and Flavor will use his DRS as a defense. He'll close on Dr. Phil down the straight. Not close enough to make a move on the Red Bull, though.
This is very tight
So the
now
number
for these
2,
four.
the number 2 Ferrari driver trying to take the fight to the number 2 Red Bull driver.
Battle for 3rd, innit? 4 drivers all battling for that position.
And Zola is back there in 6th. He's got better tires, but it's so hard to make an overtake anywhere that's not a DRS straight. We've seen lots of attempts at it, and we've seen some people do it today, but it doesn't make it any less hard. And when you do
nearly.
make it, and Flavor hits Dr. Phil!
Spin.
And there may be damage to Flavor.
And
Dr.
Zola
Phil
up to 4th.
maybe...
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I think Dr. Phil may have done something wrong because he dropped
Yeah,
off
he's
significantly in pace the last lap or two. Flavor just kind of closed in on him, and I don't think Flavor realized how quickly it was closing.
Yeah, he just spun, didn't he? Nothing he could do.
The worst part is that might end up resulting in a post-race penalty against him, and although Flavor is sitting 3rd now, I don't know how long it's going to last because time penalties might drop him way out of the top 5.
I'm not sure if there's going to be any penalties for that. I mean, he just spun, didn't he?
I'd hope not. I'd hope not.
I
There was
think it's
contact,
like he
but to
did
me
it
it looked like
earlier.
Dr. Phil was losing control. Oh, wow, look at AK Herbie on the inside, side by side as they go into the chicane.
Oh, contact.
Contact.
Between Mercedes and Herbie.
And now Mercedes has a very badly damaged front wing,
And now,
and Herbie does not.
Dr. Phil on his teammate. Yep, through we go.
Hey, so I'm going to go ahead and say something. I may have been wrong. Take a look at the battle up front. Schumacher has closed the gap down in these final 3 laps. He's within just about a second. He might try a big run late in this event against the Haas.
Yeah, it's a second. Needs a little bit of an extra push to get within a second, but, you know, 2.5 laps still to go. Anything can happen. Dr. Phil with a 3
Dr.
second
Phil
time
now has a
penalty.
time penalty.
That'll move Zola up into 4th at the end of the race. If it stays
I
like
think
this,
Zola
obviously.
wants to go. I think Zola wants to shoot higher than that because he sees Dr. Phil closing on Flavor again, and Zola, I would argue, is faster even than Dr. Phil right now. And with Mercedes, with that wind damage, he's totally fallen off of this fight. Meerkat gets back by Fratters finally, as Fratters has gone off in the hairpin.
They led with 3
Schumacher
seconds.
is within. Oh, look how close Schumacher is.
Oh gosh, something's changed there then. Found that little bit of extra pace.
Right on board
Good push for the
Schumacher.
lead.
He's within half a second. He's within 4/10. He's closing fast on the straightaway, but I don't think it will be fast enough to make a move. Dragonborn defends the inside. That's going to compromise his line going into 1. Schumacher trying to take an outside run on the Haas. Can't make it stick. Dr. Phil has gotten
And
by
Herbie.
Flavor farther back.
Herbie moves into 6th position.
Schumacher will have one last chance with DRS down the main straightaway on Dragonborn.
Aye. So,
Flavor is in 4th right now, trying to keep Zola behind him. The big thing is Dr. Phil has a time penalty, so Flavor could still walk out here with a potential podium.
yeah, he could.
It's going to come down to Zola. Can Zola get by the Ferrari?
And in fact,
Oh, wow,
Dr.
what in the
Phil,
devil
what
is
is going
that?
on here? Flavor's back through. Weird.
Back at the front.
Weird what happened
Schumacher
there.
is within half a second going down the alternate start-finish line straight.
And Dr. Phil looking on the outside. A little bit of contact, goes a bit wide.
The
Red
Red Bulls just can't get out of each other's way, and that, if Flavor takes home a podium, it's gonna be because the Red Bulls can't get out of each other's way. This is it, the closest Schumacher has been. He's within a third of a second. Dragonborn has led a large chunk of this race. Schumacher's been the only other lap player today. He's gonna go around the outside, neck and neck as they come down to turn 1. Oh my God, they're still side by side going into turn 2. Please don't wreck, please don't wreck, please don't wreck. Contact! Schumacher is going to have to back out of it. He's thinking championship.
And now Dr. Phil gets past Flavor once again. Last lap then. Can Zola get past Flavor to take what is currently 4th place, will soon be 3rd if that was to happen. So we know that Dr. Phil's going to be 3rd, whatever, going to be 5th, whatever happens here. So really, this is a battle for 3rd between Flavor and Zola. Final lap of the race. The gap's still 2.5
Schumacher's not
tenths.
done with Dragonborn yet. Look at this. Schumacher within a quarter of a second on the run down to Spoon. Can't make an overtake here normally, but oh my goodness, Schumacher is making it so hard for Dragonborn.
Yeah,
He
now
loses
they're
it
on the
coming
run.
out of Spoon though. This is it. That's it.
I think that's the race.
Dragonborn, unless Dragonborn makes a mistake in these last 3 quarters, he's gonna win this.
Flavor late breaking into Spoon. Zola. Not a bad exit. Opens up the
Yeah, but
ERS.
Flavor's got the draft off of Phil. Zola is laying on ERS. He's closing with speed at the front. Dragonborn wins. Schumacher 2nd. The fight is for 4th, which will become 3rd. Does Zola make a run on it? Oh, wow. Dr. Phil breaks big against Flavor, and Flavor's going to have to try and
And now-
cut the track, and Flavor runs Zola off because Phil ran Flavor off, and Flavor didn't see Zola coming.
There we are.
So Flavor will come home with the podium, and Ferrari 2-3. Dragonborn takes home another victory, but that was very hard fought with how
And Fradders-
aggressively Schumacher went against him.
And Fradders comes home in 8th place for points.
I told you he could do it. I told you ninth actually, because Meerkat
Ninth,
didn't
yeah,
have time
sorry,
penalties.
sorry.
But I told you Fratters could do it. And you all didn't believe me. I wasn't super confident myself, I'll admit, but I said that he had the ability to do it, and he did. Take that, I told you Fratters could do it.
How many VSCs and safety cars did we have? Was it 2?
1 VSC and 1 safety car, and that was it.
Cool.
Sadly, I know that Dragonborn doesn't have any microphone, so I know he's not going to be able to talk to us in the end. But I do want to go ahead and hear from a lot of our drivers that were running.
I want to hear from Fratters again, to be honest, about that battle he had. Aye. Good result, that. Good race in the end. Dragonborn gets the win with the fastest lap as well. MSC in second.
All right.
Like the third.
And coming to the party right now is Schumacher SF7. Schumacher, go ahead, include your audio. A great run. You really took that fight down to that Haas in the closing laps, but in the end could not get by. You'll massively increase your points lead in both manufacturers and drivers. What do you have to say about that run today, Schumacher? Make sure your audio is included.
I'm knackered. Because that was very tiring. So, just knew I had to get off the line well, which I did. And then had a Dragonborn behind me, who was a pest and wouldn't go away. But other than that, yeah, good race. Just kept going and going and going and going, really. And then everyone started crashing behind me. But yeah, it was good. My teammate finished P3. Martin, bloody great job. And yeah, the Red Bulls were right up there as well. But I know Zola, who finished P4, didn't really like this track, so I was able to get ahead of him. But biggest surprise of me was Vargo crashing out. I did not expect him to bin it. To be fair.
He retired the front, he retired in the pits again.
Yeah, quality ban incoming for him.
That's what I did, yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's
Fantastic.
yeah. With and then USA coming up.
Fantastic drive, mate.
Yes.
Yeah, with this in mind, you're going to be, with about 7 races left, we're looking at you having around 90 points or so in the lead for the Drivers' Championship. Manufacturers, you're going to take a massive lead there as well. Do you think you can lock up either of those titles maybe a race or two early?
Nah, not yet. It's too early to call. I keep saying this every week, but until it's mathematically done on both or on one of them, then I'm not saying anything. Just keep my head down and keep plugging away.
All right, well, outstanding drive there, mate. Shame
Thank
it
you.
wasn't a victory, but you put on one of the best fights we've ever seen at Suzuka there. And now I want to go ahead and talk with our third-place finisher, XRL Flavor. Flavor, if you can hear us, go ahead, include your audio. A fantastic drive up to a podium finish.
Oh, my
Walk
God.
us through that race from your perspective, mate.
I'm exhausted. It was amazing. To be honest, I couldn't believe the position and the pace I was keeping. I was sort of Mercedes was my go-to. If I could be faster than him, I was all right. I wasn't too worried about Solo when he got to me and people like that, and Paging. Towards the end, I think, I don't know if it was a Red Bull thing, but Page, I think he was trying to slow me down a little bit so Zola could catch up. Yeah, and then at the end, I do apologise, Zola. Your teammate left me nowhere to go. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was amazing.
You have to send your clip in.
To get there, I thought it was amazing. Yeah, yeah, it was just aggressive. I had to let him go on the inside, otherwise we'd have smashed. But yeah, no, it's all right. I'm not. I'm just saying what I had to do. But yeah, I thought it was a great race. I thought I did amazingly well. Just to be in the ballpark of Paging, he's nearly a second ahead of me. Zola on most tracks is a second ahead of me. So just to be there competing with these guys and to get a podium is just fantastic. So yeah, and great fighting, great clean fighting most of the way around there. Good stuff.
All right, Flavor, so now there's one more question I have to ask. You've had a lot of incredible runs throughout XRL in your career here. You're looking the best you ever have. Do you think before the season is over, you can steal that elusive first victory?
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm writing checks that I can't cash, but saying that. No, I'll just carry on, keep going. If I can get podiums, I'll be happy. But most of the races, these drivers are faster than me. It shows. But if I can just keep going, keep improving, then that's the aim. To be honest.
It's all about the strategy in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, and just trying to keep clean. That's
Just
my aim.
consistency.
And do it. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, outstanding drive, Flavor and Schumacher. A great run for the Ferraris will vault you into a great lead in the manufacturers' points and will help both of you with both of your runs in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah.
Now I want to go ahead and talk with Zola. Zola, it looks like you're going to come home fourth. Not quite a podium finish, but walk us through that race from your perspective because it seemed very busy looking at you today.
It was crap. I was forced off track 5 times in that race. I was hit 3 times. I tapped Mantic and he went absolutely flying like a rocket. No, I'm not happy. I'm absolutely fuming. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, at this point, I will go ahead, we'll change the focus just a bit. At this point, Herbago, another DNF, that's 4 races in a row. This puts you gives you a significant advantage for second in the championship. Also, McLaren completely drops the bag. So do you think it may be possible that you may be able to lock up not just second in drivers, but maybe with Dr. Phil, lock up second in manufacturers before this season is up?
I should have second, but I don't know. I mean, it really doesn't really matter. Second's not anything, is it? Who remembers people in second place?
I remember people in second place, but that's because I'm a bit of a statistic nerd. So
Yeah, so it's all good. That's how I see. I mean, all my West tracks are all gone now, so my strongest 3 are still to come. Fine. We'll see.
Yeah, see what happens.
all right, well,
You never know.
Either way, I would say that was a great race, and if you did that fuming and angry, I'd be curious to see how crazy you're going to be when you're nice and confident later on in the season. One more person I want. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if you want to see what I can do when I'm fuming, watch that second to last lap at Italy when I passed 8 cars.
Yes. Let's watch X2 tonight then. See how you get on.
Yeah, we'll see X2 then, because I'll be covering the X2 race as well. One more person I want to talk to. Fratters, can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
Yeah, he is. All right, Fratters, did you have the option to include your audio? Say that again?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, make sure your audio is included, because I want to talk to you. Before this race, a bunch of people were saying they weren't confident in you being able to finish. Not only did you finish, you'll come home with points, finishing in the points paying positions after a bunch of crazy battles throughout the day. Honestly, I think I have to give Driver of the Day to Flavor, considering the crazy defense he did, but you're a strong competitor for it, considering you hate this track. Walk us through that race from your perspective, Fratters.
Well, you know what? Props to the podium finishes. I mean, Flavor did an absolute amazing job. That strategy, not pitting, I think shouldn't have worked, but you made it work, so fair play to you.
Thank you.
But you know what? I was kind of just expecting to be like 3 seconds a lap slower than anyone, trundling around by myself, feeling a bit lonely. But we're actually having battles around there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mantic spun that many times and then overtook me that many times that it felt a little embarrassing. I think he must have overtaken me like 5 times. 6 if
You and
count the
Herbie,
fact
though.
that. Oh, mate, it was great fun. He must have had wing damage because his first sectors were shocking. But then, like, the rest of the lap, he was amazing. And I was like, this is just too much. But yeah, I was just surprised to be surrounded by people. And the fact that I even finished, let alone in the points, like, I'll take that easily.
All right, well, this was Suzuka. Next week is USA, COTA, another track that has lots of twisties, but is a bit more straight line speed focused. What can we expect from you there?
I don't think you can expect anything from me, to be fair. I mean, does anyone really know what I'm actually going to bring to a race weekend, besides not practicing and probably showing up late in qualifying? Those are the only 2 certain that you can say. Everything else,
you should probably... Well, with what you pulled off today by just winning in at Suzuka, you basically can go ahead and start practicing. I would imagine you'd start fighting for podiums pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't have time to practice, and to be fair, practicing's for years, so we'll. it's just good fun just to wing it. Mate, I've been in X3 this long. I think I've won my own championship by this point.
Yeah, that's not really how that works, but okay. Either way, great finish, mate. Great job finishing and a great finish to your race. Again, I'd probably give Driver of the Day to Flavor, but you were a very strong contender with how much incredible battling we saw in that event. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. For those of you who want to see more XRL racing, in about an hour's time, I will be covering the X2 race. Sha'Carri, who is in the booth with me, will be running in that event. There's Cash Jordan drivers, so hopefully we'll be able to get some more people there. Until next time, though, I've been your host, Insane Lair 13, joined by XRL Sha'Carri. Once again, Sha'Carri, it's been great to share the booth with you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Until next time, farewell.